It's early December, and I, Mark Stewart, am gleefully out of California. There for 2 months, now in Florida. And let me reflect on this, because my time allowed me to witness what unfortunately Californians have been cooking in for the last 2 or 3 decades. It is the decline of civilization. It is noticeable. People in California, compared to I was there 40 years ago, 40 and even 50 years ago, people are less civil. Freedoms have been curtailed. Institutions in California are closed or unworkable. You see a decline in civilization whenever you go into a restaurant's bathroom. That's if they let you in without a passcode because they fear vandalism or crime being done in those restaurants. When you enter, you see despoiled porcelain because graffitos have been carving into the porcelain sinks or toilets with their goofball runic writing that doesn't even make sense. You know of crime. And unfortunately, we don't know of all crime because enforcement against it has been subdued. Okay? We can't tell because a lot of people don't bother to report. You know, the saying that came out of 20 years ago, if you see something, say something, is a good mantra for civilian activists to despoil crime. In California, it's if you see something, don't bother. Because whether it's the police that will stand down, prosecutors who will bury things, or jurors, not the humans, but because instructed by liberal judges to disregard evidence of somebody's background or past knowledge, that they don't hold prosecutions very well. So, thieves continue to steal. And even worse than thieves, armed robbers, people who may continue to do this. Domestic violence on the rise, and everyone has to protect against it. This is a true decline of civilization. Look, in the 2 months I was there, I experienced 3 small thefts. Okay? None have been solved. Nobody thinks California is better now than 50 years ago. Even Governor Gavin Newsom, if he could say with a straight face, which is hard for him, he would admit that the 70s were better. More freedom, more resources that people had, more luxury for almost everyone. Now, why would a state with such good, energetic people, with such tremendous use of technology, with such great natural resources still, and they haven't been depleted, if anything, they've been expanded because of our technology. Why? It's because of bad policy. It's government policy that has, as John Adams warned 200 years ago, made a wealthy group effeminate. Now, maybe you don't use that word, because feminine is still very productive, and it means there's a lassitude, a laziness of staying productive, and unfortunately, a misplaced desire to let anyone share in the wealth that you've built up. That's a bad desire. Wealth that oneself has contributed deserves to be enjoyed. Wealth that is privately distributed, okay? You privately want to share resources with somebody less fortunate. Wonderful. When the government has been deciding for everybody else to put your resources in the hands of less deserving people, this literally is what you get. California, a beacon for government benefits. And, yes, an advantage because even if you're not on government benefit, the nice weather allows you to just stay there, pee in the streets, defecate somewhere that may be seen, and you could still have a livelihood that you can't in Minnesota. So California is always going to have that attraction, but it doesn't have to have the excess that government has permitted literally since the 1970s, and literally for 5 decades, a decline. Everyone there sees it. Many have left, over 1 million in the last decade, California has lost more people than any other state since 2010. Deservedly so, more people should leave until their policies get back to those when Ronald Reagan was its governor. That was until 1975. And we had a California that everyone 55 and over looks back and says, yeah, that really was a golden era. I've tried with my 2 months to help get it back. There are a couple propositions that'll be on California's ballot that undoes legislative excess. That is my little contribution. I'm now in Florida, working on an even bigger contribution, and that's presidential. More on that, in early 2023. I'm Mark Stewart. Thanks for joining me here.